All right, it's 9 o'clock on this Friday night. That means it's time for our continuing coverage of President Trump's D.C. takeover. I'm producer Chris, and if you're just joining us for the first time on Fox Local or streaming on YouTube, what we're doing is each night we are recapping some of the major developments as part of this 30-day emergency takeover. We're also highlighting some of our Fox 5 coverage, some of the local officials that we've talked to, some of the residents that we've talked to, some of the elected officials that we've heard from, and more. We are heading into the second weekend of this 30-day takeover, part of President Trump's emergency order to make D.C. safe again. And we do have some new developments today, actually happening tonight. Take a look. So this is one of the protests that happened tonight. Protesters hitting the streets of D.C. in the Columbia Heights and Adams Morgan, U Street neighborhoods, protesting President Trump's D.C. takeover, the National Guard presence here in D.C., and the recent immigration enforcement. Fox 5 Shamari Stone was out there with that group. He'll be live tonight on Fox 5 at 10 and 11 with some of the highlights, developments. We'll hear from some of the protesters as well. It's also Friday night. Like I mentioned, that means, of course, the juvenile curfew zone is back in effect. You may remember earlier this week, the D.C. Police Department extended it to the U Street corridor in Northwest D.C. That's what you're looking at right now, that map. Kids 17 and under, not allowed to gather in groups of 9 or more through Sunday night. This is in addition to the citywide curfew, which begins at 11. Meanwhile, the White House, they're touting what they're calling, for lack of a better effect, the Trump effect. Take a look at what they posted on Instagram earlier today. This graphic with the caption, "The stats don't lie. President Trump is bringing law and order back to Washington, D.C." I'm checking our YouTube comments right now. Chris Routh, I see you're asking, is this going to be a studio report? It is mainly going to be a studio report, but I'm also going to take you to some of the developments that we had today, what President Trump said about the crime crackdown here in D.C. If anything's going on around the city, if we have live pictures, I will take you there as well, Chris. But in the meantime, this is a recap of everything that has happened today. Right now, we're taking a look at the graphic that the White House posted on Instagram that says, "Make D.C. safe again." They say carjackings are down 83%. They say robberies are down 52%. They say car thefts are down 37%, and all violent crime down 40%. The graphic cites the Metropolitan Police Department. You can't see it. It's behind the banner that we have at the bottom of the screen, but it says MPD on it. But it offers no other details, including when they are down from or what they are down compared to. Speaking of numbers, Attorney General Pam Bondi posting these ones on X this morning. 719 arrests, 91 illegal guns seized in Washington, D.C. Just yesterday, we made 40 arrests, took 5 more illegal firearms off our streets, and had 36 ICE arrests, including a suspected MS-13 gang member. Thank you, President, for your unwavering support to make D.C. safe again. Now, she mentioned the president. Let's see what he had to say on social media. This was his post today. Let me take it to you. This was his post on Truth Social earlier today. He took a little victory lap. He also had a little threat for D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser. Washington, D.C. is safe again. The crowds are coming back. The spirit is high, and our D.C. National Guard and police are doing a fantastic job. They are out in force and are not playing games. All caps. As bad as it sounds to say, there were no murders this week for the first time in memory. Mayor Muriel Bowser must immediately stop giving false and highly inaccurate crime figures, or bad things will happen, including a complete and total takeover, federal takeover of the city. Washington, D.C. will soon be great again. He posted that at 1:57 a.m. A little later this morning, he crossed the street from the White House to the People's Museum, which will be open while there is construction happening at the White House. They're building that ballroom. While he was there, he talked about his crime crackdown in D.C., whether he would like more control over the city, and the other steps he plans to take to make the city beautiful again. Take a listen.
Trump, would you like Congress to give you more control over D.C. when they return from recess?
Look, D.C. is a miracle what's happened. I mean, they can come up with fake numbers like the mayor is doing. Oh, no, it was going down for 20 years. You didn't live here. You know, have you been mugged, okay? D.C. was a hellhole, and now it's safe. And in fact, I put out this morning, I said, I hate to say this because it doesn't sound very good, but there have been no murders in D.C. in the last week. That's the first time in anybody's memory that you haven't had a murder in a week. And I think the mayor has to get on the ball because we have a situation, and she's a nice woman, but I'll tell you what, she's got to get on the ball. We have, I don't want to see phony numbers. DC hit an all-time high last year of absolute total crime, and it continued pretty bad. And then we put some strength into it, got the numbers down a little bit, but we brought in the DC National Guard, and we coupled them with the police, and it has been amazing. I have friends that live here, people that work in the White House, but I have friends that live here. They're all going out to dinner now. They haven't gone out in years. One man, I told this story yesterday when we were with the police and with the National Guard. We had a great little celebration, brought them hamburgers, brought them pizza, but we were with them, and I told the story about one friend hasn't been out in 4 years to a restaurant, and now he's been out 4 nights in a row. He called me this morning, by the way. He said it's so safe. He feels like totally safe. He can walk. He's got a 10-block walk. He walks it. He wouldn't have walked those 10 blocks. He said it would be a chain of hell, he called it. He said it was just horrible. He had no chance of making it to the 10th block. And the mayor has to admit that. She can't say it was just like it hasn't been clean. Now it's going to be clean. I'm giving out a contract very soon. Susie's with me. We're going to be raising about $2 billion from Congress, and Congress is happy to do it. And we're going to wisely spend the money. We're doing it with Clark Construction. We're going to head out right from the Capitol and the White House, and if you look at a circle and go about 3 miles out, it's going to be beautiful. All those light poles, see the poles, they're rusting, and they got different lenses on top, if you look. I mean, just looking at so many different problems. And we're going to have this place beautified within a period of 12 months. The streets are going to be retopped, not ripped up and rebuilt, and they're no good after they rebuild them because they start settling. We're going to take off the asphalt and put beautiful, well-done asphalt. You know, if you have a good asphalt worker, it's the greatest thing you can have, but there aren't too many of them. But I know all the good contractors. So this place will be beautified within a period of months. So it'll be safe and beautified. And then the big question is, how long do we stay? Because if we stay, we want to make sure it doesn't come back. So we have to take care of these criminals and get them out of it. We've collected hundreds of career criminals. These are career criminals. You're not going to teach them to be nice. These are probably born that way. I don't know. But they're career criminals. They're very, very dangerous people. They would love to be with you for a little while. They'd slap you around. But I put my money on this guy. He'd take them. Right? He'd take them down so quickly. He's saying, I don't want any part of it. No, people don't want to be that. And we have over 1,000 arrests. We're taking career criminals off the streets. It's my ambition that when we're complete, we can take everybody out and you have a great capital.
So that was part of the president's comments over at the People's Museum. You heard him mention he's not sure how long it's going to take, how long he's going to be there. One of the questions has been whether the president plans to extend this takeover beyond those 30 days. Another question people have had is whether the president plans to do this in any other major cities, and he did touch on that. Take a listen.
And a lot of people say, well, where's he going from there? Well, I have calls from politicians begging me to go to Chicago, begging me to go to New York, begging me to go to Los Angeles. And if we didn't go to Los Angeles with Newsom, they run it so badly, I don't think we would have been able to have the Olympics. They would have ripped down that city. We went there and it stopped day one. And the chief of police in Los Angeles, when they asked him the question, he said, thank God they came, because we could not have handled what was happening. We went in, we stopped it, and that was it. So They needed help. They don't like to say it. I wish they'd say, I need help. I wish the mayor of DC would say, you know, we're overridden with crime and we need help, instead of saying the stats are down. I mean, they're under investigation now for fake numbers, where they fudged the numbers. And they did, there's no question about it. They said, oh, we're on a downtrend for 20 years. No, they're on an uptrend for 20 years. We are going to make DC totally safe. When people come from Iowa, Indiana, all of the beautiful places, and they're not going to go home in a body bag. They're not going home in a coffin. And it's very safe right now. There's been no murders since I started. And, you know, it's a terrible thing to say. Who would think that you have to say that there have been no murders? It's terrible. I wrote it this morning. I said, it's hard to say this, but it's actually good news, but it's a hell of a thing to say. There have been no murders in the last week. And nobody can remember the last time that that's happened. And there won't be murders because all the thugs are hiding, or they're being sent back to their countries, or they're in jail.
All right, so that was President Trump reacting, mentioning the city of Chicago as another possible venue for a federal takeover. We should also note, for the record, the president has mentioned now that no murders for a week several times, both in his Truth Social post and in both of these comments. MPD statistics actually show the city went 16 days without a homicide in late February and early March. So after his stop at the People's Museum, from there it was back to the White House, and he had another major announcement. He announced the World Cup draw will be held here in Washington, D.C. this year at the Kennedy Center. But he also talked about his D.C. takeover with the president of FIFA by his side. I want you to take a listen to that now.
I'm delighted to welcome FIFA President Gianni Infantino back to the White House for a major announcement about one of the most anticipated competitions in all of sports, the 2026, and this is a big deal, I'll tell you, I was so happy to get it, the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And it's going to be the World Cup as we know it. It's the biggest, probably the biggest event in sports, I guess, Johnny, right?
Yeah.
On December 5th of this year, the 2026 FIFA World Cup draw will take place at the Kennedy Center. Some people refer to it as the Trump Kennedy Center, but we're not prepared to do that quite yet, maybe in a week or so. But right here in Washington, D.C., it's a tremendous honor to bring the global event and this incredible group of people and these unbelievable athletes, the best athletes in the world, to the cultural center of our nation's capital. I just left the Kennedy Center. We're spending a lot of money wisely on making it really beautiful. It's going to be beautiful again. It's like Washington, D.C. We had, by the way, in Washington, D.C., we have the lowest crime numbers they've had in years. Zero, it sounds like it's a horrible thing to say, but I might as well say it. Zero murders in the last week since we've done this. That's the first time in memory that that's happened, if you can believe it, how pathetic that is to have to even say it. And I'm tired of listening to these people say how safe it was before we got here. It was unsafe, it was horrible, and Mayor Bowser better get her act straight or she won't be mayor very long, because we'll take it over with the federal government, run it like it's supposed to be run. The numbers were horrible. It was a crime-infested rat hole. And they do have a lot of rats. We're getting rid of them too. And we've made a lot of progress. And it was extremely unsafe, and now it's extremely safe. We had virtually no crime. The number was down 87%, and I'm trying to figure out where was the 13%, because I don't think it existed. The National Guard has been unbelievable, and they're working with the police. And they have some very good people in there. They have some people that shouldn't be police, actually, but they have some great people there. And the Washington, D.C. is a whole different place. And Johnny, I'm sure you'll be happy to hear that too, actually.
Oh, yes.
But it's a whole different place. People are excited again. They're going out to restaurants again. That was the other thing I saw numbers. That restaurant business is down in the last week. No. Restaurant business, you can't get into a restaurant. Just really lying people. And that's why people don't understand how bad and how dishonest the press is. I saw one poll that had us at 19% favorable on what we're doing with Washington. Then I saw another one that has us 94% favorable. And I can tell you the 94% is correct. The others are fake, just fake news. They got to get their act together. So bad for our country, so sick, actually. So Washington, D.C. is really doing unbelievably well. And the Kennedy Center that we're fixing, I was just there all morning with contractors. We're making it unbelievable. It's going to be unbelievable. It's got great bones, but it needs a lot of work. The World Cup draw will set up the group stage of competition. 48 teams will play in 104 games across 16 North American cities, from Seattle to Vancouver to Atlanta to Miami. It's going to be so exciting for our country. The 2026 FIFA World Cup will be one of the largest and most complex events. This will be one of the greatest events, one of the largest. In a way, it's like Johnny said it better. It's like having many Super Bowls in a short period of time. Because each one of these games essentially is a Super Bowl. Some of them are bigger than Super Bowls, actually. But they're essentially, each one of these games is like a Super Bowl. The 2026 FIFA World Cup will be the largest, most complex set of events in sports history. And the Kennedy Center will give it a phenomenal kickoff, and we'll be involved, and they'll be working over there for quite a bit of time. We have it all set that they can stay there for the big events, the big press conferences and everything else. And they'll be in a very safe capital. That'll be nice. You don't have to worry about walking down the street, Johnny, okay?
Thank you.
But you could handle yourself.
I could.
Already, FIFA is projecting 6 million loyal fans will attend the World Cup events next year, and 6 billion more are going to be watching back home, and they think the $6 billion number is going to be actually a low number. And this will drive more than $30 billion into the U.S. economy and create 185,000 American jobs in a short period of time, too. No sporting event attracts more attention, more fans, more viewers, or more revenue than the FIFA World Cup. And again, I'll just say it's the World Cup, and it's the biggest thing there is in sports, and we have it. And I got it in my first administration, and I was really somewhat devastated as I can be. I don't have time to get too devastated. I was very happy that today, as you saw, the group that does this, a government group, radical left group, announced that Trump was right. Took in $4 trillion worth of tariffs. That the $4 trillion are going to reduce the deficit by numbers far greater than they ever expected or heard of. And by the way, the stock market went up 1,000 points. That was as of 10 minutes ago. I can't tell you what happened. A lot of things happened. But the stock market's up almost 1,000 points. And it's basically on the news that the release that just came out from government that the tariffs that everybody was talking about, that the whole world respects us for because of what we did. The tariffs are going to be at $4 trillion. They're going to reduce the deficit by $4 trillion, Mr. Vice President. What
Pretty
do you
good,
think?
sir.
Too bad it's not 5, right?
That's right.
It's had a huge impact, and the stock market is way up. But this will drive more than $30 billion in U.S. economy and create 185,000 American jobs. No sporting event attracts more attention or more fans or anything else. And I just look forward to the draw. So we're going to have the draw, essentially, Johnny, at the Kennedy Center.
Yep.
And by that time, it'll be in even better shape. We're working on it. It's about a year project to make it. It'll be great. It'll be fantastic. You see the way this is looking? Look, nice. I can't tell you how much that gold costs. A lot of money. There's nothing like gold, and there's nothing like solid gold. But this beautiful office needed it. It had to be representative. When we took it over, it was dirty, not clean. I immediately changed the chair and had this beautiful desk renovated, brought out by the White House. People that do this, they did a great job. We sent it out. We have a craftsman who's great. But this was not appropriate for the Oval Office, what I took over. And now, if you look at all those paintings you're allowed to turn back. All of these are great presidents, and they were all in the vaults. They were in vaults for some cases much more than 100 years, and now they're proudly hanging on the Oval Office walls. And I can't imagine anybody changing it. But they were buried in vaults for over 100 years, many of them. So it's very exciting. People come in, they really love it. They love what we're doing here. They love what we're doing in D.C., and they love what we're doing most importantly in the country and the world.
So that was part of the president's remarks at the White House in the Oval Office, announcing that World Cup draw at the Kennedy Center, which is set to take place in December. He got back to the subject of the crime crackdown in D.C. He also talked a little more about possible plans for a takeover in the city of Chicago. We also heard from Vice President J.D. Vance more about the crime crackdown in D.C. I want you to take a listen to that as well.
Robert
Number one, Brian, zero.
No, but can you imagine you do this and then you start hearing that they had a 20-year reduction of crime. It's worse. It was worse during the Biden administration than anybody's ever imagined possible. And I guarantee you he wouldn't be here if those numbers continued. But now we have total safety, we have total security. And for the border, in 3 months, 0 people. These are done by liberal people that do these charts. 0 people came through our border in the last 90 days. Can you believe it? 0. Last year we had millions of people coming in. And they came in from the wrong locations. They came in from, they came in, a lot of people that shouldn't be here. So now when we have this event in December, it's going to be very safe. Johnny, you can walk down the street with your beautiful wife.
Yeah.
You can take her to dinner if you can get a reservation, which I doubt.
They're all full, the restaurants.
I know. They're all full. I heard that too. The restaurants aren't. The restaurants, since we are doing this, are doing great. And many new restaurants are going to open because, as you know, many closed. Many restaurants closed because the crime was so bad. This will be one of the safest places anywhere on earth. So, you know, I really am honored that the National Guard has done such an incredible job working with the police. And we haven't had to bring in the regular military, which we're willing to do. We have to. And after we do this, we'll go to another location and we'll make it safe also. We're going to make our country very safe. We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. And we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this. And it won't even be tough. And the people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come. They're wearing red hats, just like this one. But they're wearing red hats. African-American ladies, beautiful ladies, are saying, please, President Trump, come to Chicago. Please. I did great with the black vote, as you know, and they want something to happen. So I think Chicago will be our next, and then we'll help with New York, and we're going to help with. And I think really, I think a lot of these people that you see on television, they are, including the people in this audience, they'll say bad things about me, and then they'll say, "Thank God he's here," because half of them got mugged, and they don't want to get mugged again. But they're, you know, they work for they work for stupid people that are radical left. And they're made to do things and say things that they don't want to be saying. But the people right here are all happy because you're not going to be mugged in Washington, D.C. anymore. I just want to say Johnny's been my friend for a long time. He's an incredible guy. And we will lay out the red carpet. Andrew, you're going to be fantastic. Rick is going to be everything Rick ever touched has always worked out. And he's working with me on the Kennedy Center. And his very good friend was an actor on Broadway for 5 years, right? And I assume he's helping us a little bit, right?
Yes.
And Andrew, you're all excited about it?
Absolutely.
Would you like to say something?
This is a great opportunity, Mr. President, to show off the first 250 years of the United States of America, the greatness, and then the hope and promise of the next 250 years. When you think this World Cup is going to be over our 250th birthday, Mr. President, your leadership, obviously, with FIFA leading the way, this is the largest sporting event in the history of the world under the Trump administration. So very excited.
I just want to say one thing. Andrew Giuliani, so his father is Rudy, the greatest mayor in the history of New York, I think by far. He took a ravaged city, a city that was really under siege. Probably most people thought it was going to survive. He turned it around. He was a great, great mayor. And then they treated him very, very unfairly. You go back and tell your father all of the things that have come out over the last couple of months through Tulsi and through all of the people, Cash, everybody. They've proven your father 100% correct. His father was treated so unfairly. Your father has been 100% correct. And tell him we all love him, okay?
Thank you, Mr. President.
It's been amazing. What he had to go through was very, very unfair. Nasty. These are bad people. Mr. Vice President, would you like to say something?
Well, sure, Mr. President. Thank you, and thanks to Johnny for being here. We're very thrilled about the World Cup. Just to echo something the President said about crime in Washington, D.C., this is the national capital of the greatest nation in the world, and we had murder rates just a few weeks ago that rivaled some of the worst third world cities anywhere, even in very, very poor regions of the world. Why did we accept that? Why did we allow it to happen? We allowed it to happen because we had broken leadership in Washington, D.C., and unfortunately sitting behind the Resolute desk. What we have shown in just under 2 weeks of taking law enforcement seriously is that the American people can have their streets back if their leadership is willing to put in the time and the resources. Mr. President, you've shown in Washington, D.C. that we can have safe streets again. We've just got to have the political willpower to focus on the bad guys and to give the American people back their communities. We are focused on doing that thanks to the President's leadership.
Thank you. And that's a really very small percentage. It's 2%, 3%, but that 2% and 3% wreaks just havoc throughout a community. People are petrified, and I notice a couple of the women in the back are shaking their head, yes, yes, yes. I won't report who you are because you'll end up losing your jobs, but it's true. It's amazing, and the police, and you look at the D.C. National Guard. I saw pictures of them last night getting off vans and all, and I saw some bad ones running, but they're not running so much anymore. They're not there. They're just not even. They're not even trying. You're totally safe. Now, there'll be something happening sometime. I don't know. Maybe it won't be for a long time. But this was every night would get reports of people being mugged and killed. There's one woman on television last night. She had a badly busted up nose. And she's, well, I like our streets the way they used to be. And she thinks it's going to happen like by doing nothing. And they say, what happened to your nose? She got slugged by a guy walking down the street. Slugged. Her nose will never be the same, I guarantee you, unless it takes a pretty good turn. She wasn't really for us. But she sort of said, well, maybe something has to happen. Before this happened to me, she got whacked. And I don't think she'll ever be the same. She almost became, she was a half a Trump fan, a woman that would have never been a Trump fan, but she was hit hard. It's not going to happen anymore. Not going to happen anymore. But then we're going to beautify the city too. That's where I was today at Kennedy Center. And we're going to beautify the city like it has it. And we're working with Clark Construction, the biggest construction company in Chicago, and in Washington. And the head of Clark is great. He's all over the world, actually. But Washington, I would say, is their home. That's where they do the best work, the biggest work. And they're doing they've been doing a fantastic job. So you're going to have a fantastic, clean, beautiful place. It's going to be better than it ever was before. Literally better than it ever was before. We'll get it done very quickly. And I want to thank Clark because they're doing a lot of work in a lot of different locations. But they've been fantastic for getting us the right contractors and the people that can really do the job right. And Johnny, did you want to say something?
Yeah. So that was President Trump at the World Cup draw announcement in the Oval Office, also talking about the crime crackdown here in D.C. You heard him also mention the National Guard, and coming up next, we're going to talk about some of the other major developments that we learned today involving them, some new instructions for all of the members stationed across the nation's capital. We're going to take a quick break, though. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. It's 9:30 on this Friday night. This is our continuing coverage, our special coverage of President Trump's D.C. takeover. We've heard a lot from President Trump so far in our first half hour. I want to hear from you now. We're streaming live on YouTube and we have our comments section open. I always like to take a minute and read some of them. We already heard from Chris earlier asking if this was going to be a studio report. We told him that if anything live was happening, we would take you there. In the meantime, Colleen says, thank you, President Trump, for saving the nation's capital. It shouldn't have happened to begin with. Washington, D.C. is meant to be safe and beautiful. May God protect and keep you. Catherine following that up with Trump restoring USA and a heart emoji. Antonia, President Trump, the GOAT, along with some American flags and eagles. The last Zikasaur saying, yeah, full restaurants will pay the national debt back. Thank you to everyone who has weighed in so far. You can keep the comments coming. We'll keep the show going for a little while longer. Let's get to some of the other major developments now today. And one of them had to do with the National Guard here in Washington, D.C. You see some members there stationed around Union Station. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth gave the green light today to the nearly 2,000 National Guard members stationed in here in D.C. to start carrying weapons as needed. That's kind of a major change. We heard at first that they would not be armed. Fox 5's Nana Sentu Obansu has more on this. Take a listen.
Hey guys, so for almost 2 weeks, the National Guard members that we've seen here in D.C. at the mall and right here at Union Station have not been armed, like the ones you see kind of gathered around this Humvee and speaking to people. Well, things are changing. They will soon carry their weapons. Today, the military's Joint Task Force, in a statement to Fox 5 D.C., says, quote, at the direction of the Secretary of Defense, JTF D.C. members supporting the mission to lower the crime rate in our nation's capital will soon be on mission with their service-issued weapons, consistent with their mission and training. We spoke with people downtown about their thoughts on all Guard members being armed during the federal surge.
It doesn't make sense to me. Like, I've always felt safe coming into DC, and I don't think there's any actual emergency going on that requires any like federal interference or for anyone to be armed around here.
That is really going overboard. So,
You don't think it needs to be armed?
nope.
Now, President Donald Trump is praising the National Guard and federal agents for their work since the beginning of this operation. The DOJ says they've made over 700 arrests and removed 91 illegal guns off the street. Now, at a press conference this morning, President Trump also told reporters that he's currently speaking with Speaker Mike Johnson on getting $2 billion to help clean up D.C. When he went into a further explanation, he said he wants to work on things like redoing the asphalt on the streets, touching up some light fixtures, and some physical appearances at the White House, to the Capitol, and in a 3-mile radius. Guys.
Let's check in with national security expert and law professor William Banks. Good to have you back on again, Professor.
Good to see you.
Is this absolutely unprecedented in all your research of guardsmen out on the streets of the United States?
It's quite unusual to, at a minimum, yes, the use of weapons by National Guard who are instructed by law not to engage in law enforcement is sort of quixotic, isn't it? They're there, I think, to strike a posture, an appearance that will, I guess, enliven the presence of law enforcement, stepped up federal presence in D.C. But it's more a matter of appearances and posture than it is anything else. I can't imagine National Guard men and women using those weapons. They haven't been authorized to use those weapons. They've been authorized, apparently, to carry them. It strikes a certain tone, doesn't it? It's more serious.
Yeah, I would imagine that there's armed training regardless, but then you get into all kinds of, legal qualms here. If, do they have immunity when they use it? Is it justified? I mean, this could really go down a scary rabbit hole here.
It could, that the tradition in the United States, and it's been that way since the beginning, even pre-United States and the colonies, is that we like our laws to be enforced by civilians. We don't want soldiers on our streets. We've taken a lot of steps to make that posture, the one that's being created now in DC, a very unusual one, and that we have civilian police who wear police uniforms, who are members of our community, our neighbors, our friends, to enforce domestic laws in the United States. So to go down the road of involving the military on our streets, whether it's DC or some other city, is really quite an extraordinary step.
Professor, we know a lot of these guardsmen, they're on a volunteer basis. To your point, they do live in the community, especially DC National Guard. Could they break away and just refuse the duty? What does that look like if they were not in line or aligned with what's being asked of them?
Well, they can resign. It doesn't look good for them, not part of their record. It depends on what their what their day job is, what else they're doing. They're not mandated to continue to follow an order if it's not okay in their policy or moral universe. They can resign. And as we know, the DC National Guard force is only about 2,400 strong, and I think there are 800 of them deployed so far. They can rotate in another group to replace any who don't want to continue in the service. But so far, of course, the duty has been pretty light. Stand around national monuments, be in the tourist areas, observe what's going on. That's a job even I could perform.
Yeah, more of a visual deterrence, I suppose, if you'd like. But regardless, certainly an escalation of their duties and what's being asked of them. Professor, we'll continue to watch and see. We appreciate your expertise and insight, of course.
Of course. Thank you.
So we got some new comments while we were taking a listen to Marina talking to our expert on the DMV zone. Ursa Bear says, honestly, it's a waste of taxpayer dollars, pushing us further into debt. Maria Florence says, yes, National Guard should carry weapons to defend themselves as well. So after the Defense Secretary's announcement earlier today, we did hear from the ACLU as well. They say the president relied on a phony emergency as an excuse to overstep his power, and now we have a real emergency, the threat of an unnecessary and disorienting flood of armed military forces on DC streets. This is the ACLU. Let's be clear, military troops have no place policing civilians in the United States. Now the people of DC face a dangerous escalation with armed National Guard troops patrolling our streets. Reports have indicated that troops may be carrying guns that have been banned by several law enforcement agencies for firing without anyone ever pulling a trigger. What makes the situation even more troubling is that the government has offered little to no details about the Guard's mission and the rules governing it. Indeed, the president had said that he wants to let cops do whatever the hell they want. He may expect the military to follow a similar mandate. The statements the government has made and the ones it has not leave the people of DC at best in the dark about the power to be exercised by the military personnel on our streets. That's from the ACLU earlier tonight. Now, we did learn some other new details just about an hour ago, and this comes from Fox News reporter Jackie Heinrich and Liz Frieden. If you take a look at her post on X earlier today, she says 1,700 National Guardsmen set to mobilize in 19 states in the coming weeks to assist DHS amid sweeping federal interagency crime and immigration crackdown. The post goes on to say that documents obtained by Fox News show planning for activations in Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, Louisiana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Mexico, Ohio, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, Virginia, and Wyoming. The post goes on to say the National Guardsmen being mobilized will effectively serve as a support pillar to a sweeping federal interagency crackdown on crime and immigration, while also serving as a visible deterrent force, a U.S. defense official told Fox News. The status is effective from August through mid-November. Her post goes on to say that President Trump has hinted repeatedly in recent days that he intends to use resources at his disposal to replicate the DC operation in other parts of the country, saying this afternoon Chicago could be next, then New York. We talked about that earlier. Texas is projected to host the most significant Guard presence. Vermont declined to activate its Guardsmen despite authorization from the DoD and a request from the DHS. So that's according to Jackie Heinreich at Fox News. So we could see a lot more National Guard members all over the country in the coming weeks. We'll have much more on all of this coming up tonight on Fox 5 at 10 and 11. Of course, we'll also have much more from that protest I showed you at the top of the hour. Shamari Stone will have more on that and the latest developments from the Trump takeover. The other big story, of course, today, the Kilmore Arbrego Garcia, freed from custody in Tennessee, on his way back to Maryland. Fox 5's Sydney Persing following that story. She'll have all the details of tonight at 10 and 11 as well. We'll be back here on Monday night. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Thank you to everyone who commented on YouTube. I'm producer Chris. Have a great night. We're going to take you now to Live Now in Progress.
On the street, there was a body discovered. But there was no clarification about what had happened there. Can you give us more information?
I don't have any details on that.
There's a very large crime scene there right now. Why is that necessary?
As in any investigation, our officers are out there conducting their investigation. FDLE is out there conducting their investigation, and we're making sure that everything is collected as far as evidence-wise. So that's why you see a large presence there.
Initially, you had advised folks to avoid the area